Good morning, everybody. I'm Judy Lau, host of the CEO Talk of a WIFFA. Today, we are delighted to have our guest of honor from the Netherlands. Let me introduce to all of you Ms. Hanna Stelzel, Director Containers, Port of Rotterdam. Hanna, how are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm fine. I believe that all our guests would be very interested in knowing your background. So let me get started. Hanna's ambition to spearhead the sustainable and digital revolution in maritime logistics led her from the bustling automotive industry of Germany to the strategic waterways of the Netherlands. By 2018, her path had converged with the port of Rotterdam, where she now plays a pivotal role as Director Containers at the heart of European maritime trade. Her recent years have been dedicated to refining inland logistics and pioneering the digitalization of the port and its supply chains. This blend of ambition and experience fuels Hanna's daily pursuit to develop the most sustainable, efficient, and reliable container networks. Her efforts are not only vital for bolstering the local and European economies, but also for ensuring that these operations coexist in harmony with the environment. So, Hannah,
Thank
could
you.
you share with us some basic information about the Port of Rotterdam? This is such a leading port in the world. Yeah, and it's a role model for everybody. So, Hannah, could you introduce a little bit more detail and updates for us?
Of course. And thanks, Judy, for having me. More than happy to share some details about the Port of Rotterdam, which is operated by the Port of Rotterdam Authority. And as a Port of Rotterdam Authority, we're responsible for managing, operating, and developing the largest seaport in Europe. In the Port of Rotterdam, we handle approximately 14 to 15 million TEUs in containers, but also among many, many other very important cargo flows that are, for example, supplying the European continent with energy. Approximately 13% of the European energy consumption also goes through our port. In the Port Authority itself, approximately 1,500 people are employed. In the total port cluster, just to give you an idea, there are around 3,000 companies and around 182,000 direct and indirect jobs. So it is quite a significant, not only logistical cluster, but also an industrial cluster, making sure that the European continent is foreseen with goods, with relevant goods, with crucial, with essential goods, and energy. We're the largest port, as I mentioned earlier, in Europe, operated by a public authority, public ownership, with a clear mandate to really build sustainable and digitally advanced gateways for global trade.
Wow, this is very exciting indeed. Many of our WIFFA members, that is, Chinese freight forwarders, logistic and electronic commerce players, are using the Port of Rotterdam every day. Going forward, they might want to deepen their network with your group, right? So some international market reports indicated that there are 4 different types of cooperative projects between the Netherlands and Chinese enterprises. I would like to seek your view on this.
More than happy to share my view on this one. And maybe before I get started and tell you something about those 4 different segments, I do think it's very relevant to also share the trade that we do have with China and Asia as such, because especially in the container business, we do see the important and relevant role that China does play in our total portfolio. approximately 25% of our container cargo originates or destines to Chinese locations. So that's a quarter of our container throughput. And we're very happy about the collaboration and thankful for all the networks that we do already have here at the Port of Rotterdam. At the same time, we do see some general developments in the market. For example, that the import over the last years was growing again. Last year, we had a growing import, approximately 4% in total, but 9% originating from Asia. And at the same time, we did see the export, unfortunately, declining. And this becomes a structural development. Over the last years, if we look back into 2018 and compare that with 2025, we did see that 20% of export declined to that area. So that's really something where we're constantly looking into, and where those 4 topics will help us to further build the relationships that we have. So to shortly mention those, the first would be on the multimodal collaboration, multimodal logistics, and I will share some more of that later on. The next one would be on the green shipping and sustainable shipping, as well as green logistics. The third one on smart port technology and digitalization, and a fourth one on cold chain and high value cargo.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's wonderful. Do you mind to go through them one by one, sharing what happened in the past 5 years and also your projection for 2026 to 2030? So just to remind everybody, the first one is integrated sea rail multimodal transport. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it is. So I will try to give you like the full idea of what happened and how we look into those different topics in the future. So over the past 5 years, we have seen a strong growth in combining deep sea services with inland rail networks. So major milestone that Rotterdam was joining the Chengdu-Tilburg Rotterdam China-Europe Railway. That is a very important one. And during this period, different Chinese partners and several operators have integrated their rail port networks in the Port of Rotterdam and via inland hubs in the Netherlands, just like Tilburg and Venlo. We could see that this did reduce the total transportation times into China. And at the same time, and that might also be something that I would like to point out in terms of how we look into this for the future, we do see that with the multimodal network into Europe, we are having the opportunity for sustainable, for example, inland shipping via the River Rhine into major industrial clusters in Europe. You might have heard about the Blue Banana, which describes an area in Europe where major production plants, major buying power, and major industrial clusters are located. And the River Rhine, as a natural waterway, connects Rotterdam with those European hinterland regions. And we are working very hard, and we will do in future, looking ahead to really make sure that our rail and barge network to inland Europe will also become more reliable and sustainable in the future. So by 2030, we do really want to make sure that we have a strengthened position as a primary consolidation hub, making sure that we offer green logistics and more sustainable shipping into Europe, but also into the direction of Asia.
Wow, that's very exciting indeed. The growth trend basically will accelerate, as you said. So perhaps, we'll go to the second one, as you mentioned just now, is the green and sustainable logistics. Right, okay.
The natural bridge, indeed.
Indeed,
because indeed we see that on the waterways and on the railways, there's still opportunities to grow. And in Rotterdam, we're investing heavily into our infrastructure. We will add additional capacity to the container cluster, 8 million TEUs until 2030. So we do need this capacity. And there's still opportunities to really strengthen those. And this indeed helps me, Judy, to bridge into the topic of green logistics and sustainable shipping. And if we look back at the last 5 years, there's one example that I would like to point out we're very happy about and very proud of, and that's signing a memorandum of understanding with the Port of Shanghai in 2025. That was a major milestone because it also focuses on accelerating the usage of cleaner fuels, cleaner marine fuels, just like LNG and methanol. And at the same time, we're looking into the shore power solutions for vessels at berth. And that's something where China is already way more developed than we are in Europe. And at the same time, in Rotterdam, we're investing into a full shore power coverage until 2030 as well. And looking ahead, we will really build on the relationships that we already have and accelerate everything that we have signed in this memorandum of understanding, and at the same time make sure that our port is prepared. So we're investing in the infrastructure, we're investing to make sure that we have all those different shipping fuels, bunkering opportunities of alternative fuels, of methanol, ammonia, LNG available in our port. And we do strongly believe that this is not an option, but for Rotterdam, it will be the standard and really help us to have green, sustainable shipping opportunities between China and Rotterdam in the future and really set a benchmark.
Wow, I'm really fascinated. Okay, so renewable, green, basically are the keywords.
Yes.
Green, yeah, it's
yes,
very important because we need to contribute positively to climate management, right? Yeah.
Indeed.
So, the next one, that means the third one is the digital supply chain and smart port tech. I would open my ears and eyes to understand what's happening and what would happen in the future, Hannah.
Yeah, and if you allow me, I go even further back by starting to tell you that already more than 20 years ago in Rotterdam, we have established our port community system. It's called Portbase, and Portbase is a neutral port community system, which is providing shippers and freight forwarders with a smooth and reliable, digitally empowered gateway. So already those many years ago, we have started to, in the beginning, simply digitalize documents from paper documents into digital. And this is what we build further and further. And over those last years, we have made significant steps in further developing all the services that are being offered as standard services in the port area via Portbase. And if we look into the future, we do definitely see chances for AI, AI-powered solution, digital twins, and make sure that there's better insights, for example, on port performance. We already have established a website where port performance becomes transparent. And that's something where we want to build on and really set a benchmark. To make sure that what happens in Rotterdam becomes visible and transparent to all the users, but also wider public, for different kinds of motivations, because we truly believe that everyone deserves to have the full transparency of what is happening in the port. And we also want to avoid that there are assumptions that might simply not be correct. So that's a relevant one where we are highly focusing on. And then, as I said, AI gives a lot of opportunities also in port-specific developments and port-specific improvements and solutions that we will be able to offer. And in essence, all those digitalization projects, they will help us to step from traditional logistics into intelligent data-driven ecosystems.
Wow, all this innovation will make things, much easier and efficient, and more efficient for everybody. So let's go to the final point. Basically, would be the cold chain and high value cargo logistic. Do you want to give your viewpoints, and share with us?
Yeah, more than happy to do so, because this is really a topic that's increasingly important for us in the Port of Rotterdam. Pharmaceuticals, perishables, advanced manufacturing tools. We do also see that many of them make their shift from air to ocean, how we call it. So there's a bigger interest for those products to be shipped via sea. And this is what we get prepared for in the Port of Rotterdam, and where we have made increasingly high investments over the past few years. In Rotterdam, just to give you an idea, 13% to 14% of all containers are reefer containers, so temperature controlled containers. And of course, they do need a different type of handling and have different requirements than the dry containers. So there's a lot of investments that happened at the deep sea container terminals and the different logistics service providers in Rotterdam. We have seen that the whole cold chain environment and warehousing over the last few years, there have been significant investments. Also, where we're very proud and thankful of a lot of your partners. So we do see that this is a topic that remains of high interest, and technology-wise, it is really offering a lot of new opportunities. As a port, if you're able to handle a container with blood plasma or very high value medicine, this is also a proof that you're able to handle other containers in a very efficient, sustainable, in a reliable way. So reefer containers as such, but also the whole handling, the warehousing, and everything that belongs to those containers is something where we have a high focus on, where we have a lot of ongoing investments in the Port of Rotterdam, and where we're preparing for all the specialized treatments and cold chain requirements.
Wow, Hannah, I'm very, very much excited and fascinated by your analysis. Basically, your viewpoint has given us the big picture of the teamwork between the Port of Rotterdam and Chinese players. It's really inspiring for all of us. So thank you very much for your sharing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you again, Judy, for having me. And thank you for the opportunity to share our port's ambitions and developments. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you so much, Judy.